Good night, good night, good night. Welcome to Feminine Success TV, everyone. I hope that y'all are having an amazing night. Tonight is going to be so good. So, I have been waiting to have this conversation for quite some time now. I've sat, thought about it, talked to my friends about it, talked to my husband about it, and just been in my own thoughts about not only what I'm seeing happening or what kind of we're all seeing play out in Will and Jada Pinkett Smith's relationship, but overall, what I'm seeing play out all over the world globally as it pertains to women owning our femininity, owning our pleasure, owning our desires. And I want to talk about it because it's such an important conversation. And first, I really want to thank Jada for being so transparent and being so open and being willing to talk about things that often as women we shy away from having these conversations, or we say things like what I've heard most people saying since her last Red Table Talk, where, if you're not aware, she shared that she feels like she has not felt satisfied or fulfilled sexually in her marriage. And she also said that she feels like she doesn't know what love is, that um, after all the years, all of that, she does not know what love is, and that she's on a journey for herself right now to discover what that means to her. And when she said that, first of all, the internet went crazy. I think since the August Alsina situation, anything that Jada does, anything that Will does, the internet is going to go crazy. Um, so the internet went crazy, of course, but like I think it was Dave Chappelle who said it, the internet is not a real place. So there's that. Like, there's always this, like, if you say something, you're going to get canceled, you're going to get exposed, the internet's going to go crazy, they're going to drag you. But I mean, just log off and you won't see any of it. So that's the first thing. But one of the most pervasive comments that I saw from women was that she shouldn't have said anything, that she should have kept that to herself, kept that in her marriage. Don't tell your business. And honestly, all of it remind me of the programming that we get as women that stops us from experiencing pleasure, stops us from being honest with ourselves, with others, with our lovers, with our spouses, with our friends. It really silences us when we are ready to talk about what we're experiencing. So I'm not here to say that she's right or wrong, but I do want to give some perspective on it, because a lot of the commentary that I saw was from single women. Not to say that there's anything wrong with being single or that single women don't know what they're talking about, but you cannot know what a marriage entails if you are not married. And I think that first of all, when I was a single woman, I had these ideas about marriage and relationship that just were not true. And what we're seeing play out with Will and Jada actually plays out in a lot of marriages, but nobody ever talks about it. And I think it's very, very brave of them to be having these kinds of conversations, especially, y'all know how we are in black households, black and brown households. Y'all know how we are about our business being in the street. So for them to have such a large platform and to say things like, I was not happy in my marriage, I was not sexually satisfied or am not sexually satisfied, I regret some things. We never admit those kinds of things. We never admit them to ourselves. We never admit them to other people. And for them to be bold and brave enough to stand together and admit those things is something that we've never seen before. It's something that culture has never seen before. And that is a part of why it's so triggering, because most of the people who are triggered by her honesty have secrets and dissatisfaction of their own that they're keeping in, that they're suppressing. And they're saying, if I got to suppress it, she should suppress it. We all got some things that we don't like that we just don't talk about. Well, no, like we're in a time where women are just not shutting up about it anymore. And as much as I would say religious leaders, community leaders, even some of the femininity space is encouraging us as women to shut up. Now is not the time to shut up. Now is not, and I'm not the person who's like, oh, you need to be loud all the time, because I can project my voice, but I'm not a loud woman. However, it is time out for us as women laying down and pretending that we like whatever the world is throwing at us when really we don't. And I think that as it pertains to Jada, they have agreed to be very open in this stage of their life. And you can tell that it's both of them, because now his book is coming out and he's exposing more things. And I think that what they're trying to do, what it seems that they're trying to do, is to shift the paradigm. It seems that they're trying to change the way that we have conversations about marriage, about family, within families, outside of families. And he's even said in his most recent interview, I think it was, well, I won't say most recent interview, but in one of his recent magazine interviews, he said, you know, this is how our marriage was, but I wouldn't recommend it for anybody else, which is honest. And I really see that as men are healing, as women are healing, as relationships are healing, as the world is rising and becoming more honest about what we're experiencing, about what we're not happy with, about what we're not pleased with, it is triggering to people who are saying, I'm just gonna settle. It's good enough. And here's the thing. Here's my thing, because for those who don't know who I am, I kind of just hopped right into the live because I've been waiting to talk about this for a minute. But for those who don't know who I am, I specifically work with women who have created success in their life in one way or another, whether that's a successful marriage, a successful family, a successful career, a successful, you've succeeded in school, because some of my clients are literally still in college. But because I work with women who have succeeded in many ways, but they know that there is an area or several areas of their life where they're not reaching their full potential and they refuse to settle for that. One of the things that I see in this conversation about Jada is something that I see in conversations about successful women across the board. It's something my clients tell me all the time. It's something I've personally experienced. And that is, when you succeed in one area of your life, say you get a good man, you get a Will Smith, you get a upstanding husband, you get your PhD and get a multiple six-figure job. You do these things and you're working that multiple six-figure job, right? You're married to that great guy, great on paper, paper perfect. You're married to that paper perfect guy, right? Or you're dating this paper perfect guy. You're working this paper perfect job, but you're not satisfied or pleased in those areas. People around you will say, well, what more do you want? Well, you got a rich husband. What more do you want? Well, you got a good job. What more do you want? Girl, you got that job. You better be grateful for that job. You better not leave that job talking about chasing your dream. You better not. And people who cannot see more for themselves tell you that you should settle for what you have, because what you have is what they wish for. That's not your business, though. And I love that Jada is standing in that and saying, just because you want my husband does not mean that I'm happy with my husband. I say all the time, and I love my husband. I love my husband inside out. I say all the time because I'm proud about the fact that I snatched him out of a couple of people's friend zone. He was the guy everybody thought, oh, he's such a great friend, and all of that. They didn't expect him to get married, and suddenly he was. And when he did, there were a couple of those girls who were like, I thought, because I've had friends like that who were in my friend zone, and I was like, if I don't get married by such and such age, I'm gonna just go ahead and marry them. Not proud of that fact, but it's the truth. But those girls were like, I thought, here's the thing. One thing I know, as much as I love my husband, none of them would have stayed with him. None of them. And so when you're looking at that woman's life and that woman's truth, and you're saying, oh, well, she should just be happy that she got him and he built her a house and he did all these things for her. No, she should not just be happy. She should just be happy with what makes her truly happy. And because we have allowed ourselves, and not only allowed ourselves, because we have been suppressed for so long as women, because we have been oppressed for so long as women, when we get a little bit of something, we convince ourselves and we let other people convince us that that should be enough for us, even if it's not. And so realize, ladies, that as you step into your feminine power, for those of you who are on that journey right now, I see I have a couple of clients on here. I see I have a couple of friends who've been following me for a while who I would hope are on their feminine journey. But as you begin to step further into your feminine journey, as you step into your power as a woman, as you begin to tell the truth even more, because sometimes we think we're being honest and we're really not. As you begin to tell the truth, that truth will be triggering. It will be triggering. And sometimes the people who are triggered will try to make you feel bad for telling your truth because they want you to go back in your box so that they can feel comfortable in their box. That's not your business, though. That's not your business. They want you to go back to being quiet so that they can be okay being quiet. Because as long as nobody is complaining, they're like, you know what? It's fine. They're not complaining. I'm not complaining. If she can put up with it, I can put up with it. How many times as a woman have you said to yourself, well, my mama did it, so I can do it. Well, my auntie did it, so I can do it. Well, my cousins did it, so I can do it. Well, my grandmother did it, so I can do it. But you are subjecting yourself to a level of punishment that you don't need, a level of suffering and struggle that is unnecessary for where you are on your journey, and it's actually delaying you. Imagine, and I've walked this journey of growing in sexual harmony within a marriage. Imagine your spouse desiring to please you more, your friends, family, the people around you, your job wanting to do more for you, but you're not speaking up, you're not saying anything, you're not complaining, you're not saying what you want, you're not telling your truth. So no one ever has the chance to be that blessing to you. But eventually that pressure is going to bust pipes. And eventually you're going to say, I just can't deal with it anymore. And now this thing that could have been beautiful is falling apart because nobody ever said anything. Know that telling your truth is triggering, and it will trigger some people, but their being triggered is not your business. Your being triggered about Jada telling her business is not her business. She is on mission. What are you doing? None of y'all here, but y'all know who I'm talking about. But understand that telling your truth is going to trigger people. Always. It will always trigger people. To truly stand in your feminine power, you cannot be the person who is shaken by people not liking you. You can't be. You cannot be the person who is shaken by conflict and confrontation. Does that mean you need to run into an argument with everything and everybody? Not at all, because I'm not going to argue with you. I don't argue with my husband, so I'm definitely not going to argue with no randoms on the street. But that does mean that in telling your truth, some people will want to confront you about your truth. Some people will want to have a deeper conversation about it. Some people will be triggered and offended, and they're going to tell you about it. Does that mean that you back down, though? And if there is something to be learned from this whole situation we're seeing play out with Will and Jada, from the August conversation until now, nobody has backed down. They're like, we gonna tell a story, we're gonna tell it. Okay, no matter who's triggered. And it really has, I believe, opened up a lot of conversations that we would not have been having before. Let's see. Halima says, literally talking about this in one of my classes, family systems, patterns, and unspoken habits, break them. Exactly. Exactly. Some of the things that we suffer through, struggle through, is completely unnecessary, but we're doing it based on repeating patterns, unconsciously repeating those patterns at that. And I'm a person, and I hope that you're a person who desires to move consciously through your life, desires to drive the car in your life and not have your grandma's old traumas driving the car, your mama's old traumas driving your car, your childhood traumas still driving the car, but truly desiring to be conscious in your day-to-day life, be honest in your day-to-day life, and live out a life that truly feels like the best life for you. At this point, Jada is 50 years old. I know when I'm 50, it's my truth and I'm gonna tell it. And if you don't like it, oh well, close your ears. And so that's something to also consider, is how long do we expect people to live a fraction of their best life, live a fake version of their best life to appease us so that we don't feel embarrassed for them. I saw a lot of men say, "Oh, I'm embarrassed for Will." Is Will embarrassed though? Because he don't seem embarrassed. He seems on mission. So let's see. Jasmina says, is the Will and Jada thing an example of growing apart and not together? First of all, I am not in Will and Jada's relationship, so I can't say whether they are growing apart. It doesn't seem like they're growing apart. They are still together. What Will and Jada's relationship to me seems like is us seeing a couple truly grow as human beings, and we don't often get to see what that looks like. We don't often get to see people still be individuals with individual feelings, individual desires, individual needs within the confines of a marriage. So often, what we see of marriage is, yeah, you can want that, but if that desire impedes on what I want, you can't have that. And their relationship seems very much like two autonomous individuals deciding, we are going to pursue happiness as individuals, and we are going to be together as we do that. So I don't think that it's an example of growing apart. I think that divorce is an example of growing apart. I think that they are choosing what growing together looks like for them, and it looks very different from what any of us has ever seen. Um, Maybe not different from what they've seen or what has been done, period. But most of us have just not seen people be individuals in a relationship. The idea that two becomes one so often means that we lose our sense of self in order to grow together in a marriage. And my husband and I have had to decide how this thing was gonna look. And our marriage does not look like anything that either of us has ever seen. Um, and that was our intention, was to truly cultivate and curate a marriage and a lifestyle and a family life that fit for us. That wasn't based on a model that wasn't really working. Because regardless of what you have to say about Will and Jada or how you feel about Will and Jada, one second, y'all. Okay. Regardless of how you feel about Will and Jada, their marriage has outlasted a lot of more traditional marriages. Um, you could say, well, the way that they're doing it is not right, but the model that we have for marriage right now has a 50-50 chance of surviving. So who are we to judge? So there's that. All right, let's see. Trinice says, real scares people. They say they are authentic, but when they see it, they don't recognize it. And I think authenticity is just very subjective. I think that authenticity changes from person to person, to be honest. So there's that, there's that. And when I think about it, when I first started, my hair is natural, obviously, but if you can't tell from all this frizz, but when I first started online, like everything that I did and still do, most of what I do is natural, plant based. We're not vegan, but using natural products, using natural. Back then, I was like making laundry detergent, all kinds of things. And there was this time that my father had passed, and I straightened my hair for his funeral. And of course, I mean, you get a silk press, you're just gonna use you gonna do all the things while you got a silk press. And a person commented and was like, well, I thought you were real, but you're out here trying to be like white women with your straight hair. And again, authenticity is very subjective. Um, People from person to person, when they say real recognizes real, resonance resonates with resonance, because real to one person and real to another person are totally different. Okay. So just be mindful of that as you're considering anybody's situation, what your truth is. What your truth is. If you are hearing Jada say, I'm not sexually pleased in my relationship, and you are triggered by that, ask yourself, are you sexually pleased in your relationships? And if you are not, do you know how to communicate that with your partner to get what you want? Because a lot of times, again, we are triggered by the things that we are experiencing ourselves, don't want anybody to know about. It feels like they're pulling the cover back on your life when they're talking about their life, and that's not the case. But I do believe that as women, grown women, I've said this for so long. I've said this for so long. It's probably super inappropriate, but it is what it is. I hope y'all got y'all kids in the bed. But it's what I absolutely believe as far as communicating about sex in a relationship goes. If you cannot open your mouth and tell a man what you want, you should not be opening your legs to him. If you don't feel safe enough to talk about it, you definitely shouldn't feel safe enough to sleep with him. Those are just my thoughts. You don't have to you don't have to make that a rule for your life, but that's a rule for my life. So that's something to consider. I mean, if you obviously Will and Jada had that conversation long before we heard it. Okay. Long before we heard it, they had that conversation. And so if hearing that is triggering for you, more than likely it is also very difficult for you to communicate that when it's your turn. Because I've heard so many things as far as sex, our bodies, women, men, all of it. I've heard women say our bodies are just for men. Our bodies are for their pleasure. We should be focusing on them instead of ourselves. All kinds of things. I've heard women who are married say, "Well, it's about him. It's about making sure that he gets what he needs." I mean, we could have that conversation if y'all want, but that's not what it's about. It's not. It's not. Okay. Everyone should be pleased in the relationship. You around here snapping on people. And I see that a lot. I see a lot of women who are just, sis, you're a little cranky. I say it all the time. Like she's just a little cranky right now. So y'all are funny. Y'all are funny. Make sure that you share your name with StreamYard so I can see who this is commenting. That's a lie. They are used to being with selfish men, to dealing with selfish men. Absolutely. I don't have a selfish husband, so there's that. But even still, it could be that you are pleased enough, but not fully pleased. You're not experiencing fulfillment in that area. But can you talk about it? Can you talk about it? There are women who are experiencing orgasm, but not experiencing aftercare, not experiencing foreplay. Can you talk about it if those are things that you need? Not only talk about it, but require it. And not in a way that makes him feel, pressured or like, but in a way that empowers the relationship. So those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts on Jada. I also have a topic this week, 10 things every woman should learn from this Jada situation. And we're going to talk about that another day. Today, I kind of just want to come on and give commentary because there's so much happening on the internet. And I don't go live all the time. So I think like by the time I talk about it, it's like, what's going on? But I wanted to come on because this is fairly new. I know the internet moves fast. The next thing I'm going to discuss is, let me see. Lil Duval said something that was quite interesting. And of course, it triggered people. Let's see. He said, in a perfect world, women with kids shouldn't be working. That is a full-time job in itself. I think this is one of the reasons balance is off nowadays in our community. And I agree, in a perfect world, women with kids should not have to work. And women felt like men who say that they don't want women to work. First of all, of course there was the high value male brigade that had their feelings. But who cares about them? The second is the women who felt like if a man is saying that he doesn't want a woman to work, it's because he wants to control her financially. It's because all these things, which speaks to fear, speaks to fear. It speaks to your mindset as a woman. If a man says, hey, I think this could make your life easier, and the first thing that you think is, oh, you're trying to control me. Mm-mm. What that means is that either you or someone along your lineage has experienced trauma around control. And or if you haven't and they haven't, programming, because social programming is a real thing, and we are always seeing movies, media, social media, reality TV, songs with this same messaging. I don't want to owe nobody nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I don't want no man to be able to control me, all these different things. However, we say we want ease. We say that we want to be supported. We say that we want to be taken care of. Does that mean any old man who waltzes into your life and says, I don't want you to work, baby? Should you? No, you should not. You should not vet that man, okay? Vet that man. And if you don't know how to vet a man, we have an entire module inside of the Feminine Success School on vetting men for friendship as well as relationships. Get into it. Join us in the next masterclass cohort. So understand that as you step into, as the world really, because this is not just an individual thing. I've been doing this work with women for over 6 years now, specifically supporting women with femininity, specifically helping them to grow their own feminine power, step into it, understand it, identify what's been holding them back. And what I know is that where we're going next as a society, this is not just, oh, I want to tap into my femininity. This is the whole world. The feminine is rising. The feminine is waking up. The feminine is coming back into the picture. And the pendulum, as my husband calls it, the pendulum is swinging so that we can experience balance and harmony. However, so many of us have been trained to be very good men. We have been trained to be really good and really keen in our masculine power. We've been trained to be very good at working hard. We know how to exert ourselves. We know how to put in effort, grind ourselves to the bone. We know how to take control. We know how to do all of the masculine things. So, I want you to know this. This is for my newbies in Feminine Success School. This is for those of you who are joining us in the next master training cohort. This is for those of you who are choosing to DIY your journey. Fine. But know this, and this is sometimes one of the most difficult parts of the femininity journey. And that is that as you lean into your femininity, as you stand in your feminine power, your inner unhealthy masculine side is going to be triggered. Is gonna be triggered. Is gonna be triggered. Okay? Your inner masculine. I'm not talking about the men around you. Because so often we say, oh, well, I told him that I didn't want to work. I told him that I needed support. I told him I needed some extra help. And he seemed like he was triggered by that. It's your masculine that's going to be triggered first. And once your inner masculine is in harmony, the masculine around you will also be in harmony. Men will start helping you out of nowhere. And they just naturally will desire to be of support to you. Naturally desire. I see it all the time. I'm literally always coming across random strangers who are like, "Hey, let me help you to your car. Hey, let me help you carry that. Let me pick that up for you. Let me do this for you. Let me open that door for you. Don't touch that door, lady. I got that for you." All the time. And as I work with women, at this point, I've worked with hundreds of women. They say it all the time. Exactly. Jessica here. Hold on, let me pull up. Jessica says they love to be a help. Jessica knows. Jessica has gone through several of my programs and knows you're not gonna touch no more doors after you truly embrace your femininity, as you step into your power. So, what that means is that when you hear men saying things like this, you have got to get to the point where when a man comments on women and womanhood in a healthy way, you are not attacking or treating his comment like an unhealthy man said it, like the man who hurt you said it, like whoever. That you are receptive and grateful and graceful in how you respond to what's being said. Because I think about my old pastor, who is like a grandfather to me, Leroy Thompson. His slogan is "Money cometh, money cometh, money cometh." The root of that slogan is from a conversation he randomly had in the checkout line at the grocery store, where some man was like, "Every time you get money, it just goes. Money just goes and goes." And he was like, "Yeah, it sure does." And the spirit convicted him immediately. Well, the thing is, many times our unconscious responses to things, we're just saying what comes up. We're just agreeing, making small talk. But even your unconscious responses are a prayer. Even your unconscious responses are a command. And if you desire ease, if you desire harmony, then when someone says, "It shouldn't be that hard for women. Women shouldn't have to do this. Women shouldn't have to do that." Instead of responding, "Well, why can't women do it? Well, if men can do it, women should be able to do it." Instead, sit back for a moment and ask yourself, is that something that I even want to do? Or do I do that because I feel like I have to do it? I'm just doing what I have to do. And that's why I do it. If I had a choice, would I choose something different? It's not that you have to respond to that man or even agree with that man. But instead of resisting, allow yourself to sit back and receive it and decide for yourself if it fits for you. Is this what I want anymore? Because many times we are responding to new concepts based on old programming. And rarely do we ask ourselves, do I still want to be running that program? Does that still work for me? All right. So I wanted to have that conversation because it's so important for us as women to be bold in our femininity, to stand firm in our femininity. And what came to me today is loud femininity. Loud femininity does not mean that you're loud in your speech, that you are loud when you are talking, that you are loud in any way other than leaning into, "I am a woman. I desire to be treated like a woman. No, I don't want to be treated like a man." Actually, if I think about it, because men treat each other like trash. I want to be treated in an elevated way. I want my life to be elevated. And once you are willing to stand in that, then you can have it. So often we hear people say, you got to be it before you can have it. And we don't really talk about what that means. Be it, stand in it. Don't wait for the marriage to fall apart to start being honest. If what you desire is a long term marriage where you're able to grow together and you're able to be honest, don't wait for yourself to burn completely out and you're burning your candle on both ends. If what you truly desire is to be a woman who has a life of ease. Okay, does that mean that everything in your life is going to be easy? Absolutely not. But it does mean that you can be at ease from the inside, no matter what's going on in your life. So I wanted to share that with you all today. I wasn't gonna keep y'all on here long. I know sometimes I go sometimes when I haven't been on here for a while, I go long, but I have a couple more lives for y'all this week, so I'm just warming y'all up. Okay, we just get warmed up today. And I wanted to have that conversation too because of the question that Jasmine asked earlier. Is that a sign of growing apart? Is not being pleased in your marriage a sign of growing apart? Is being honest about not feeling loved? Is that a sign of growing apart? No, it's not. Because what not being honest about those things does is drive a wedge into the marriage. My husband will tell y'all, he's like upstairs right now, but he'll tell y'all I am so honest. Like, and I don't say that like to just like, oh, I'm telling the truth all the time, but I really, really am an honest person. My mom hated it when I was growing up because I'm the kind of person, don't ask me the question if you don't want to know the truth. Um, Even if you're my mama. So with that, there have been lots of moments in our marriage where he had to walk away. Like, okay, I wasn't expecting to hear that. Um, I know he was on. Latoya said he needs to come on the next live. He was on. We did cocktails and conversation inside of Feminine Success School last Friday, and most of their questions they were asking him. Like most of the questions were for him. How do men think about this? What do men think about that? How do I get this man to all of their questions were for him. But um he'll tell you guys like a part of why we have made it through some of our most difficult years together has been because I was honest, because I did not wait until it was so bad that I couldn't take it anymore to say something. um because sometimes the we tell ourselves this isn't bad enough for me to complain about. This isn't, well, at least he's not cheating, at least he's not abusing me, at least he's not an alcoholic, at least he's not whatever. But what is one thing I can tell y'all that I have heard from almost every woman that I have coached, almost every single one, is yeah, yeah, I don't really say anything, and then it all just builds up and then I explode. One of those days that explosion is going to wreck the whole situation. It's going to knock the whole house down. So rather than allowing yourself to let things build up and build up and build up and build up until the whole situation explodes, and now even if you are still together, you have all this stuff to clean up, why not just be honest in the moment? There will be times where I can't remember what my husband said one time, but it was something, and he said it jokingly, and I was immediately like, "I'm gonna tell you now because I don't want it to build up. What you said, I did not like, and it has me in my feelings, and I feel some kind of way about it. And we're gonna stop and discuss it and move on, rather than." You said this 3 weeks ago, and then you said this 2 weeks ago, and then remember last month when you told me, no, because I know I can do that. No, we're gonna talk about it right now. Even when it comes to sexual satisfaction, I will stop you right in the middle. No, I don't like that. Don't do that. Do it this way instead. If you cannot open your mouth to them, do not be opening your legs to them. If you cannot communicate with them, don't. I don't want to use copulate because now I'm gonna sound like Al Sharpton. But that was a good one. But if you can't communicate with them, then you shouldn't be having sex with them. Period. Period. Let me actually, because Latoya said he needs to be on the next live. I wonder if he's Bae. Are you up there? He might come down, y'all. He might. I don't know. Oh, he's coming, y'all. He coming. Get y'all questions ready. Get y'all questions ready. Babe. Oh, were you sleeping? Oh. You look like you were sleeping. You were sleeping. You was definitely asleep. Look at your face. You was trying to what? What is he? Is he asking you questions? Oh. So we're talking about Will and Jada, right? And Jessica says she needs a glass of wine. Jessica says she needs a glass of wine. Okay, we're talking about Will and Jada. And we're talking about honesty in relationship. Jasmina asked earlier, is Will and Jada's like transparency and openness a sign of them growing apart? And I could see how that is a question.
They probably didn't grow apart. They just holding on to something.
You think they grew apart?
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. To me, it seems like they've grew apart, mm-hmm. and he's trying to hold on to what just anything, like, because remember we discussed that it seems like divorce or all.
Yeah, he said divorce feels like failure to him. Yeah. So, but Jada has been honest from the beginning that marriage is not a concept that she's ever agreed with.
Yeah. How long can you fake? How long can you stay in something you never really wanted from the beginning?
What I was telling them, but I also feel like I don't think that that's a sign that they've grown apart. I think it's a sign that they have grown individually and that their marriage has evolved into something different that we just don't recognize because we've only really seen marriage done in a particular way.
Yeah.
And I just think they're unconventional. But I was telling them that you want to come on screen or you feel like you look crazy? He look a little crazy right now, y'all, because they got the little eyes up like can I see him? But he looked like he was trying to take a nap. What, you got your glasses? Well, you look fine to me, dear. Fine as wine. Listen. But I was telling the ladies, he walked in our bedroom, y'all, that I'm very, very honest, and that when I don't agree with something, when I don't like something, when I feel some kind of way about something, here he is. When I feel some kind of way about something, I always tell you, like, even if we're in the middle of a conversation, I will stop the conversation, like, hold on, let me let you know I feel some kind of way about this so that it doesn't build up.
Right. hold on. Sorry, y'all.
I wiped it off before I started.
Oh, you did?
You just
Wiped
look
it again.
fuzzy.
Wipe twice. Wipe.
Okay. But and that is the same way, like sexually. And I think that personally, I've always said this: if you can't open your mouth to somebody and communicate to them, you shouldn't be opening your legs and having sex with them. Because we should be comfortable enough to talk to each other. We should be comfortable enough to say, hey, I don't like that. And I know that often discomfort is rooted in a trauma. It can be rooted in people pleasing. It can be rooted in not wanting to be abandoned, not wanting to be rejected, not wanting your needs to be rejected. But if those are your thoughts, if you think if I tell him he's not gonna meet my needs, then close your legs. When his needs go unmet, he gonna make sure your needs get met. I ain't gonna. I'm. You know what? I take that back. I take that back. Strike that from the record, because y'all know how y'all go to getting when I say, listen, if your needs ain't met, happy wife, happy life. But some people feel like the husband's happiness is the only happiness that matters. And you know what? Put that back on the record, because that's not my business. That's not my business if you feel like his pleasure is more important than your pleasure. That's not my beeswax.
I know it's one thing we've learned too. Like a lot of women don't want to say what they need because it may make the man or the partner feel like he's not doing something right or something. And, and that happened to us. But we've come to resolve like, well, how else we supposed to pleasure each other? We're not letting each other know what we want and need. So
I think there's a thin razor thin line there, y'all, because it took some growth. Okay, it definitely took some growth, because men's ego is tied into a lot of things, and sexual performance is one of them. So yeah, there's that. There is the, okay, now we got to work through what this means to you, and how are you defining this, and what does this say about you, and all of that.
And it's funny because ego keep you from having a better time. It's like, well, that's where we as men have to really listen. We have to listen to everything when it comes to sex or anything, and that will make our situation better as well. But it's just the fact that men are not trained in that area or don't really understand that. Just allow ego to take its, course, or take reign in their life. But yeah, and I don't know.
And a lot of men are out here like, this isn't even what the conversation is about, but it's the truth. Letting porn teach them how to have sex. And
yeah, straight up. There's no discussing what I like and porn. We just doing it.
Not only is there no discussing what you like, it is a performance. It is literally a performance. Right, so there are these expectations that are just so unreal,
right,
from yourself as a man and also from this woman. And it robs you. And I think that's why there's this big crusade against porn right now, because it really robs you of true intimacy in a relationship if you're comparing yourself to performers all the doggone time. But a part of why porn is teaching men about how to do what they need to do is, one, because we're not talking about it in households, and two, because women aren't telling them, hey, I don't like that, this isn't a fit. And there's a way to say those things that does not feel like you're attacking them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up next. And the way that you explain those things, and Now, one time it was. We're not gonna go into full detail, but as we went on, as the discussion developed, we were able to talk in a way, but just being transparent.
Yeah.
We are
Oh,
we here
human.
to, we human. We here to share things that's gonna help. We're
Yes.
gonna help each other. That's why I'm able to explain it, because I took it a certain way. But and that's why I know that men we need to let that ego. Don't worry about nothing. Just hear her, listen to her, hear your partner, and understand that whether it's a trauma or whatever, it's just simply not working.
Mm-hmm.
Just hear it out and try something else. Try what they want. So
yeah, I think that's a conversation that should happen in every relationship, especially with people who are sexually active before getting into relationship with each other, because sometimes you're doing things that worked for your past partner and don't work for your current partner. And it's important to be mindful of that every literal body is different and has different needs. And that if you're in it together, you're in it to support each other's needs. So there's that. Or yes, exactly. Evangel says, or have suffered violence. Exactly. So it's really important to be willing to have these conversations. Men, if your woman is not having these conversations, ask her what she likes, ask her what she wants. Ladies, ask your man, ask him what he likes, ask him what he wants, so that nobody is going into the relationship blind. If anything, in the Will and Jada situation makes me feel like it is that I feel like after this amount of time, these are conversations that, unfortunately, a lot of these things are conversations that they should have had while they were dating.
Yeah.
For real. The circumstances of them getting together was kind of all over the place. But yeah. And this is so important too. Evangel says, ask not what's wrong, but what happened. Exactly. Because you don't want to make a person feel like what's wrong with you. I know something happened with us and I was triggered. And he was like, he didn't say, well, what's wrong with you? He was like, hold up, let's stop. Talk to me. And that, like, what are you feeling right now? That created safe space for us to have a conversation rather than, well, what's wrong with you? What's wrong now? How some people get, and really that is ego. That is really them saying, what am I doing wrong? Right. But they don't want to say that. So they have to put that somewhere. They're not emotionally mature enough yet or whatever have you. So that's even, hey, let's pause. What are you feeling right now? Is a great opener for that kind of conversation. Because even sometimes I know, as far as having dealt with violence and suffered violence, sometimes asking what happened can too cause a person to shut down because they don't want to revisit those experiences. So asking what they're feeling in the present can kind of gently guide them back to having that conversation.
Yeah, asking what happened is kind of more so of a thing you ask yourself. Like it's something that happened. There's trauma around everything. We were just discussing something similar to that. People do certain things, and you without when you learn to not judge yourself, you learn to not judge others. So you begin to ask yourself those things like, oh, well, something is wrong here. What is that, and what's going on? That you can learn to ask that your partner in an appropriate way, a kind of light way, a helpful way, a welcoming way, the way they don't feel even more traumatic or more, So that was good though. That's exactly what it is. What is that? What's going on around that?
For sure. So I hope that this supported somebody. I hope that this helped you guys. I know that when that conversation came up with Jada, a lot of people felt like she should never say that. A lot of women feel like they would never tell their business, all kinds of things. And we as women have got to stop silencing each other in that way. When one of our sisters says, I am suffering, even if you don't have the space to hold for her suffering, don't try to silence her suffering. Don't silence her. More than likely, she has been living in silence for a very long time and is finally breaking that silence. If you don't have the capacity to hold it, disengage from the situation. But so many of us as women live in silence and suffer in silence because we fear the judgment of other women. We say that we're oppressed by men, and in many cases we are. As far as we can look into third world countries and see that oppression. We can look into in America many times in abusive relationships and see that oppression. But we are also oppressing each other in ways and telling each other, well, you should just not say nothing about it. Don't worry about it, girl. Or you should keep that to yourself. No, no. Now, is there a way to address grievances? Yes. However, we have got to stop pretending like it doesn't hurt, pretending like we are not tired, pretending like it's all good. As long as you can beat your face and look good for the internet, it's all good. No, it's not. You will reach a point where none of that is enough anymore. And what is locked and trapped inside of you has to come out. And you want to make room for that to come out in healthy ways. One of the ways that we do that, even if we're not ready for those steps on our own journey, is by standing in a space of non-judgment when we're seeing other women go through those steps on their journey. All right. So own your power, ladies. Congratulate other women who are owning their power. Pray for folks when you see that they may be struggling or going through something. Pray for them. If you're really that concerned about Will and Jada's relationship, pray for them. All right. And pray that you find yourself in a place where you are able to be 100% honest about your life and get what you need from that honesty. All right. Let's see. Thank you for sharing that so much, Evangel. So good to see you here. I appreciate you always so much for your support. And I'm so glad that you have done the work to heal through what you have been through.
My ladies, good night. I enjoyed it.
He said he's out. He enjoyed y'all. But thank you again. I hope to see some of you in the master training that is coming up next month. It's going to be the last master training of the year. Yeah, go join the wait list. If you're on Instagram, click my bio and join the wait list. Peace, y'all. Somebody said he's ready for bed. He is not about to go to bed. Y'all don't believe him. Good night, ladies. He is in the refrigerator right now.